Hi guys, I finally finished my sternguard. There's been some highs and lows of painting this squad of 5. I'm going to try and talk you through as much as I remember as I can. Now the first, I'd say, half of painting these miniatures, or maybe more, was pure pleasure. I was using the airbrush. And now I'm not one of these people that is just because I've got a new time saying it's the greatest thing in the world and everything before it's rubbish. Not at all, but for what I've been using the airbrush for, everything that I wanted to do, it's been doing, and I've been really enjoying it. Well, anyway, let's go on to what I basically did. I practically base coated the models with the airbrush, and then I did a technique that I'd picked up from watching Les from Awesome Paint Jobs videos, and I'm sure we've all watched those. And what he does, he angles the brush down at an angle to pick up a hot highlight. Now how I've gone about that, I've gone with a very dark blue and then working the highlight up with a much lighter blue. And because of the way the colour blends, it looks very natural, and you probably can't tell on the miniature where the colour ends and begins from the next colour, because of how the airbrush works. So yeah, the pitfalls of basically when I transition from the airbrush straight to brush. Now, when you're painting sternguard, I highly recommend making sure that you paint the head separately, because if you're going to base coat the mini all in one colour, you're going to end up hitting the heads with a very dark blue. If you paint like me, say for example ultramarines, then you've got to get that dark blue back down to white, and it is a pain in the ass. It can be done, but it's very time consuming. The only way to make it not time consuming is to put the white paint on thick over the darker colour, but then it's going to look very uneven, and it's going to look a bit of a mess. So yeah, that was one of the pitfalls. I used pigments again on the base there. Still need reworking a bit on the bases, but for all purposes they are pretty much finished. And I've just noticed a bit of script work missing on that one purity seal there, and I've just noticed those bags there need doing, but yeah, they're pretty much all finished really. Right, on to the next one. What I want to show you, let's show you this shoulder pauldron here. If I can show you this on camera and the light's good enough to pick it up, that you should see a transition from where right at the top of the shoulder pauldron there it's fairly light blue, and then as we go further down the pauldron it gets darker. Now, even if you're a very good painter and you're absolutely excellent at blending, you're still going to notice a slight transition between the colours from where the brush has been layered on. But with the airbrush it's so natural, it's very hard to tell where the transition starts and ends. Also, you'll notice that skull icon there is pretty beat up. I've adopted that technique now, and I really like the look. Basically, I'll put the decal down, I wait for it to set with a microsol and microset. I think that's the clearest we're going to get it, and then I'll literally chip back into it with my hobby knife, so it gives it a natural weathered, worn look. I like that. My feeling is if your miniature is going to be all dirty and weathered and paint chipped, you're not going to have a nice, neat, pure white symbol that's not got a mark on it. And as you can see, it's been done on this side as well. And the weathering effect, you'll probably see me do that on camera, which it didn't turn out too good, the camera work, unfortunately, but you'll notice like a natural sheen going up the leg there, just of a bit of the weathering. You might see it better on this miniature, to be honest, because he's got some white decals there, so you'll just notice a tiny hint of dust going up the legs. Alright, on to the next one. Oh yes, and this miniature, I'll have to show you this I use the airbrush for this as well. Your camera might not be picking it up, but it goes from purple at the bottom there, and it naturally blends up to black at the top, and you see stars, so it's like a nighttime scene. Most of the decals covering up the transition there, but that was so simple to do with the airbrush, but doing it with a normal brush it could be difficult. Again, this guy, I mean, I could do with touching up, going over that with black, adding a bit more detail, but I'm trying to paint my miniatures a little quicker these days. I still want them to look nice, don't get me wrong, but I've got so much to paint on a backlock, and I want to get onto my Blood Angel, so I've tried to keep the detailing down as much as possible, really. But as I say, I love the way that I can get a nice colour down on the minis with the airbrush. It's so smooth and blending. I couldn't achieve blending like that with a brush that quick. Another cool effect done with the airbrush there is I'd already painted the mini fully, and I wanted to add effect to this, but I couldn't go in with my airbrush straight onto that plasma chamber area of the gun, because if I did, the blue would have gone straight over onto the mini, right onto the white that I'd painted, and there's no way I was going back over that. So it was just a case of putting some masking tape behind the gun there, down the side and round there, and I was able to freely airbrush and not worry about any of the excess paint spraying onto the painted mini that I didn't want. But it gives you that lovely nice light bleed effect over the rest of the gun, that gives it a nice looking light source effect. Decals was used. This was a tiny little scrap left from a decal sheet that Lenny gave me. I'm really running out, to be fair. It's just little scraps that was left on there, that offcuts, and there's a bit of offcut that I managed to put on the back there, sorry. So that's that one. I think I've got one more guy, and this is the biggest pitfall. Now, I have to tell you this, guys, I mean, I'm not going to lie, if something goes wrong, I'm going to tell you, and it didn't go wrong because of a tool, it went wrong because of me. I was using some plastic cement glue, and I don't know why, but there must have been a little drop that come out the cap and ended up on the table, and this miniature was lying down, letting, I think, part of the backpack dry or something, and this he was holding an Auspex, and the Auspex was dipped in the plastic glue, and it must have been down for 2 or 3 minutes, and when I picked him back up to finish off painting something else, all the gun had all melted into his hand and it was all twisted, and I wasn't able to save it. Would you believe it? Of all the bits and bobs I've got, I never had another Auspex, and yeah, not happy. So he has got a combi melter and a pistol, and the position that his head was at, looking down at the Auspex there, there was nothing I could do to make it look good. So what I'm thinking of doing is putting a tiny little bit of smoke coming up there, like he's looking at his plasma pistol and it's sort of malfunctioned there, or something's happened there. But yeah, very angry at the time, having to cut off the hand and then trying to bodge another hand on there and paint it up. Yeah, not fun, to be honest, not fun. But as the saying goes, these things are sent to try us. But yeah, all in all, we put the whole squad together and it was all painted together. Not too long, I can officially say. Let's put them all back, actually, get them into shot. It's quite a nice looking squad, really, and I'd definitely say that having the airbrushes enabled me to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do before, or would have, but just wouldn't have attempted. Example, light sourcing on the gun. I wouldn't have done that without the airbrush, and the colour blending just wouldn't have been as nice without the airbrush. And this is my first attempt and I can only see things are going to get easier, and I'll be able to do things much better in future. Again, another backpack. The one good thing about filming, I don't know whether you found this yourself or if you upload videos to YouTube, you think you've painted something, then you get them on camera and you're like, oh, that needs painting. But yeah, right, thanks for watching, guys. And if anyone's got any questions about how I've actually gone about painting these, or any of the effects or anything like that, just drop me some questions. As soon as I get a chance, I plan on doing a video going over as much detail as I can on the airbrushes, because I do feel very lucky to be in the possession of an airbrush, and I know there's a lot of people out there that were like me at one stage, super curious about them, but don't understand, or not necessarily understand, don't know the workings of and the benefits of owning one. So hopefully I'll be able to do that within the next week or so. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.